So we're gonna get started here. Lance was sitting there. We're actually gonna start off with Lance. We're gonna give him a little bit of time. He's got a lot of different engagements that he's got committed to, so we're gonna allow him a little bit of time before we dive into the PowerPoint. But I'll let him introduce himself and go from there. So go ahead, Lance.
Hey guys, thank you for bearing with me. I went on a sabbatical for a month and I decided that in the future I was only going to do what I wanted. And this is one of the things I wanted to do, but I didn't realize it was at night and I have to catch a plane. I have to get up at 4:30 in the morning to catch a plane. So I just need to be smart about it. So I apologize for not being there in person. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There's a PowerPoint and I've seen it and it has a lot of the data that we have and the stuff that we do as a company. And, I think that's usually when you meet a corporation, that's usually where it stops. But none of that is that interesting to me, to be honest, even though I'm the CEO of that corporation. I mean, the reason we do things and the reason we exist, I think, is far more interesting, and our motivation is far more interesting. And so what I wanted to do was give you just a couple stats, and then I wanted to lay the groundwork for really what we actually are doing and the difficulty that we're doing. I was trying to raise some money for our down payment assistance program, which is very generous. If you are a tribal member and want to build a house, we will build the house at cost. We will give you the lot, and we will give you $75,000 in down payment assistance. I was trying to raise some money. And I've never had any luck, to be honest. And I was with a group of rich white philanthropists, and I'm half white, but not for purposes of that conversation. So I'm 100% into that for that one. And I said, I know you guys feel like if you don't have a house, it's somehow your fault. But we don't mind giving our tribal members money to build a home because we're 100% convinced it's your fault, not ours. Right? Because and what I'm going to explain to you is why we are convinced of that. If you were to design an economic system that was designed to hurt, exploit, and make it exactly as the worst thing you can imagine, that's what I'm about to describe to you. Yeah. So within that, Ho Chunk started with, I guess, myself in my apartment. I think it was in Dakota Dunes in 1994, or December 1994. So 95 was our first year. We had no revenue. We had no plan. We had one employee. We now have a couple thousand-ish, pushing a couple thousand. Our first year we had revenues of 400,000. I think we're budgeting about 600 million next year, right? And usually in corporate America, you're like, oh, that's great, But in Winnebago, they're like, that's suspicious. What's he doing? Where's mine? What's he up to? It's just like I'm a tribal lawyer and a businessman, so I don't think you understand what that means. That means you got to watch them, in our world. Anyway, so let me explain our system a little bit to you, and I'll just go through it pretty quickly without going into a lot of detail, but I want to lay it out for you. So the legal system is designed to exploit and to take from us. I teach a law school class. I'm a bit of a lawyer, and I start the class with the scales of justice. And I said all they're weighing in their court cases isn't truth and honesty. It's their greed versus their guilt. And so when it comes to us, it's all about taking our stuff. And the Supreme Court cases are just the rationale process. Most of those racist cases like if you deal with blacks or some of the slave cases and some of the issues where they were able to lock up Japanese, those were all taken off the books. But all the same racist cases that were set in place, 150 years ago are still there for us. And they're the foundation of what we deal with. So we live in a legal system that's totally designed to take from us. We have very little rights. In fact, the federal government has plenary power, which means they can do whatever they want to us. And, if you're a small group with resources that the other side wants, they can do what they want. Well, you know what happened, right? So we had a legal system that is, when you look at our federal Indian law, it's our greatest hits of losses. So that's our first problem. The second problem is our political system was imposed on us in the 1930s during the Depression because they wanted to be able to come up with ways to take from us, So they needed somebody to say yes on the dotted line. We're actually set up on a nonprofit model, which isn't great for business. But the guy who was charged with it was a member of the American Legion, and he just changed that around to create constitution. So not a whole lot of deep thought. This wasn't the Constitutional Convention that went on. The other thing that happened was in the 1880s, our land was being taken so fast and so egregiously that they stopped it. The way it worked is they would give you land 20 miles apart. And if you didn't improve it, they'd take it. If you improved it, they taxed it and they took it, right? So either way, you lost your land. So the government took all of our land and put it into federal trust status so it couldn't be taken. That was supposed to last 20 years. So it would have been over probably in about 1908. It's still going on, so it has been going on for 140 years. So we don't have control over our own assets. And think about what that means. If you don't control your own land and you can't, as a government, and they didn't do this on purpose. We weren't even a tribal government officially yet. But if you can't tax your land, how do you fund your government? So we don't have any money to build roads, to build schools, to fund police. That's why the Bureau of Indian Affairs runs a school, runs the police, and helps us build roads. But it's never enough. When you're dependent upon a government for money that resents your existence, it's a recipe for abject poverty. And so that sucks. So we don't have any money. Now, if you, so it makes you, ask for grants and handouts. Now, if you don't have control over your primary asset, you can't have collateral. So if you can't have collateral, you can't collateralize it. You can't build a home. You can't have a mortgage. You also can't put your land up to farm. So you end up not being able to farm. Our farming had collapsed. You can ranch because you can collateralize the cow or the other animals. In Indian country, 80% of all farmland is farmed by non-Indians, but 80% of ranch land is ranched by Indians. So we're perfectly capable of doing it like anybody else. It's just that the system doesn't allow it for farming because you don't have access to the capital because you can't collateralize your land. And neither can the tribe either. So it's a very difficult environment. Although Aaron LaPointe got his start in our company by running the farm, but that's just because we had a credit line as we got big enough. So we were able to do farming, and now we farm, I think, 7,000 acres like that of our own land. So that's the way for us to get around it. The other thing to think about is if you can't collateralize it, you can't get a mortgage, you can't, it kills entrepreneurship. So you can't get a home equity line to start your business. You don't inherit anything when somebody dies, so you don't have money to maybe start up another business. There's no entrepreneurship. There's no wealth creation. When you die, your land actually gets divided up by all your relatives sometimes. I actually own a piece of land, and it has something like 300 owners on it, and it's like 40 or 80 acres. I'm not sure, but who cares, right? I've got a tiny little piece. I get a check for $5, and that's the way it goes. And so there's no even ability to consolidate the land into larger pieces. And if I wanted to be a farmer and had resources, I couldn't do it anyway. So, and the other thing that this does is it forces you to lease your property, not develop it. So you're at the bottom of the food chain. All we can do is lease the land. You don't get to farm it. You don't get to do any value added. The other thing that's really crazy is the only entity with any money is the government itself. So we need to, and they don't have much, but at least they have something. And so we're at best a socialist, at worst probably a communist. I gave a speech 20 years ago and I said, I can't believe Winnebago's Karl Marx's last hope. And so that's what we're facing. I mean, if you had bad political, bad legal, bad economic, bad entrepreneurial, no funding for your government, and you've got communism is the business model that you have to function in. Fortunately, I took a class called Eastern European Economies in 1990 after the wall fell because it wasn't at 8 a.m. And so I'm pretty familiar with how to run an essentially planned economy, strangely. I didn't think it was going to be helpful, but it actually is. The thing about that is that's the worst hand you could be dealt in America. And almost maybe in the world, you couldn't have a worse setup. But if you can get past it, and this is where Ho Chunk Inc. is absolutely great. we are great at minimizing the negatives. They're still there. Our economic system is rickety as hell underneath it, the legal, political, economic system. But if you can get past it, and that's what Ho Chunk Inc. has done, we've created a separate corporate structure. We have a board of directors that's from the government, but not totally run by the government. We brought in skill sets that we need. We have checks and balances. We can run our own. We can keep our own economics, accounting systems, HR systems. We have to report. We have to do audits. There's checks and balances in place. But we created sort of the secret sauce to separate the business and the politics, and to figure out ways to use the tribal advantages and create economic power to get past them. Because if you can get past the negatives, and you can have some structure and you can have some capital, and Ho Chunk was given about $9 million in capital from 95 to 97, and I think other people can talk about that, from Winnebago before the boats came and Council Bluffs and sort of destroyed us. We're getting revenge on them right now, by the way, in case you didn't know, down in Omaha at the Warhorse. And I'm loving it. But I made the comment that you see the movie where they kill the king, you should always kill the son, because we are the son of Winnebago, and we came back. And we're looking for, some success at their expense. Anyway, if you can get past it, the benefits are phenomenal. We pass our own laws. So our corporate code is our own. We passed a law allowing us to farm all our own land, match any low bid. We just passed the law. We create our own tax systems, which gives ourselves an advantage. We also, as a tribal entity, we are a governmental entity, so we don't pay federal income. It's just like income tax, like any other government. We don't pay capital gains tax. We don't pay state tax for local on-reservation operations. Actually, I used to brag about that, but with the casinos, we've become, I think, the second or third largest taxpayer in Nebraska. So, and I told the governor that it was against my religion, but I've seen the light. If you can have a casino in Omaha and Lincoln, you get on board quick, I guess. So we don't pay state income tax generally, and we also can't be sued unless we agree to. So we have something called sovereign immunity. And so those come in very handy. We were being sued by somebody, and it was a major gaming dispute worth $20 million. And they said, "Are you going to waive sovereign immunity?" And I said, "I thought about it. I'm going to go, no." No. You can't make me feel bad. You're trying to screw us over using the legal system. And so that we hate already, and we were able to figure out a way to get around it. The last couple things we have that are advantages is we've got access to some federal grants, some federal programs for government contracting, some sort of tax credits and some loans and things of that nature. And I added about 5 years ago one more advantage, and it's knowledge. We didn't have a lot of business knowledge when we started, but Ho Chunk now it'll be 32 in December. That's how old we'll be, and that labels me a little bit. But I think I was 26 when we started, 25 when we wrote it up, and so I've been the CEO a long time. But along that time frame, you get a lot smarter, mostly from making mistakes and not repeating them. And we have a system inside Ho Chunk Inc. where we do knowledge transfer. We have internships, we have management training, we do all these kinds of things. I'm well known for, at least especially back in the day, for the whiteboard and sort of outlining what I think our situation is going to be. But you can't take knowledge, you can't take education, you can't put it back in the box. And the days of us having to beg, we're still doing a little bit of that. With the government, we're trying to keep them to do bad things to us. This new administration is going out of their way to make things difficult for tribal entities and minority entities and some of the stuff that we do. And so that's proving to be a bit of a challenge. But we always knew that was going to happen. Ho Chunk Inc., as you'll see, has been highly flexible and dynamic. There's nothing a tribe has ever had in the history of our contact with white America that hasn't been tried to be taken away. So you're an absolute fool if you think that's not going to happen. So we used to make a lot of money on government contracting, we still do, but that's under attack for DEI and those kind of things. Even though it's not a DEI thing, it's more of a political designation. But we have the gaming now. And so we're now spending huge amounts of money on political contributions because, someone's going to come try to eat our lunch again. And so what's interesting is in that effort is the very system that hurt us, the political, legal, economic system that impoverished us. We've gotten to the point where we can use that system. We're trying to co-opt it and use it to create our own sort of, to protect ourselves. How many times do you got to be screwed by the system to not figure out how it works? And that's kind of where we are. I think all I really want to talk about, to be honest, is just set the groundwork. Because people know tribes are poor, but they don't know why, right? And I don't think it was on purpose, but it was exploitative. And the exploitation of 140 years ago lingers on in the system that we function in. And Ho-Chunk Inc. has just been one of the best ones of trying to get around it. And I think it's pretty key to understand the problem so you can beat it. And if we lose some of our government contracting business or our gaming business, we will fall right back into poverty because the economic system still doesn't really allow the normal American sort of economic model to flourish here. But we've found ways around it and we've adapted to it. And then I think that, I don't know if anybody else had any questions or anything, but that's all I really wanted to say, to set the framework and to let Aaron and John Blackhawk do their presentation.
I think we'll open it up for some questions while we still have Lance on the line. If there's anything before we dive into the PowerPoint. Well, I don't think we have any questions, Lance, so.
All right. Well, that hurts my feelings, I think. Or maybe I just did a really good job. All right. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much. And I apologize again for not being there. And welcome to Winnebago. Anytime somebody comes to visit us, we appreciate it. So thank you. And take some time to learn about us.
Thank you so much.
All right. Ho-Chunk out.
All right, so we're going to dive into this presentation, and before we do, I noticed in the PowerPoint that there wasn't really any opportunity for introductions. So I just wanted to introduce myself real quick and my Dega here, who is going to help me with this presentation. But my name's Aaron LaPointe. I'm currently the CEO of Ho-Chunk Capital, which a lot of you in the Siouxland area might know about us. That's a more localized company within the area. I'm also the Chief Investment Officer of Ho-Chunk Inc. as a whole. And I've been at the company for about 10 years. I was an intern back in, 2015, I think? Yeah. I was an intern at Ho-Chunk Farms, as Lance kind of touched on. My background's in agriculture. Graduated from the University of Nebraska-Lincoln in 2016, came back, ran Ho-Chunk Farms, and then over the years I've slowly taken on more responsibility here at Ho-Chunk. So I currently oversee the farm still. I oversee our retail businesses. You guys might know about like our Pony Expresses, our Sweetwaters. We have some of those up there in Sioux City. I oversee our construction company. I oversee our tobacco manufacturing business and a lot of the other local employees here in Winnebago. So I'm going to try my best to fill the gap. It was supposed to be me and Lance up here, and I thought I was kind of going to be in the background helping him out, but it looks like I'm in the spotlight tonight. But I did ask my Dega John Blackhawk to come up here and help me, because from a historical standpoint, there's really not nobody better in our community than him, because he was a part of it. So I'm going to let him introduce himself, and then we're going to kind of tag team the first part of this presentation. And trust me, we tried to make it interactive. I know that food is really good. I'm full too. I don't want you guys getting tired and falling asleep. So there's going to be a couple of opportunities to take a little break from listening to us talk. But I'm going to let John introduce himself real quick, and then we'll dive into the presentation.
Are any of you tennis players? Anybody play tennis? No? God, that was an A, I tell you. But no, my Chushke, my nephew, asked me to help him out, because as we were talking about some of these things, I'm real fortunate. I lived during some of those times pre-HCI. And so there was a group of us that began a process of trying to make these significant changes. And I was very, very blessed to be able to serve with people who had 30, 40 years of public service. And so those were my teachers. And I came in as a young, dumb young man at 30 years old and thought I could do something. But I was fortunate to have those teachers. And so the real nice thing for me, the invite, is that I don't really think about or ponder, the things that we've done. But when I'm asked questions, it's kind of a good memory. That's part of my, I guess, payback, is to say, oh yeah, we did kick butt on that. Oh yeah, we did do something that was never supposed to be done. So I'm here to share that component. I served with tribal government for 30 years, and so that's why I had that experience and kind of fill in some of these blanks. And the other thing that I realized is that we tried to historically document this, but we were all too busy to do it. And the other part is that in our tradition, that you don't want to brag about yourself. That's a no-no, And so that was the other reason we didn't do that. I kind of regret it now because my memory is is kind of going down slowly as well. So, but great to be with you guys. And I'm really thankful. I mean, this is kind of exciting to me to see you all here and to see young people trying to learn and trying to do this and that. And so if there's any way I can, kick you in the butt to do that, I'll surely do that. So thank you.
All right, so we're going to dive right into this. Any of you that know Willie Bass, he's an expert in developing curriculum. So obviously you guys are going to have some learning objectives tonight. So pay attention, take notes. That's why we printed everything off. So these are going to be the 3 learning objectives tonight. There's going to be some opportunities for some polls. So you are going to have a test. So let's try and pay attention. But I'm really hoping at the end, when we look at the results of what you guys have learned, that we can really strike a strong conversation. I really want this to be informal. I don't want to feel like I'm just up here preaching or anything. If you have a question, raise your hand. I'll stop talking, especially going through some of this content. So as you can see, the learning objectives for tonight are explain Ho Chunk Inc.'s mission, reflect on our role in the Winnebago community, describe our impact on Siouxland economic development. So there is a barcode for you guys. Hopefully you guys have a phone. Hopefully it's Verizon, because if it's not, you don't have service. It's really easy. There's 3 questions. It's super simple. It's just rating your understanding of our mission, those 3 learning objectives. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to revisit that at the end of the night. So I'll give everybody a little bit of time to do that. And like I said, we do have another interactive component of this presentation, so I'm really looking forward to it. Everybody get a chance to answer some of those. So we're going to dive right into it. And the early part of this presentation is really kind of setting the framework. And Lance did a really good job of really setting the foundation and the understanding of kind of the hand we were dealt, what we had to deal with to get to where we are today. And throughout this presentation, you're going to see some of the opportunities for great demonstrations of leadership. And I thought it was super relevant to this crowd, to the people that are here today, to kind of point some of those things out. And as I said, John was a part of this. He was actually on the tribal council when Ho Chunk was started. He had some mentors even previous to that helped establish a lot of the framework that we still operate off today. So our mission is to create jobs for Winnebago tribal members and help the tribe reach economic self-sufficiency. That was the whole goal when they started Ho Chunk Inc. And I'm gonna let John talk a little bit about that. Lance did touch on it a little bit, but since 1994, our approach has evolved to create an economy and middle class on the reservation. And I thought it's great. We have a booth out there. I didn't know we were gonna have a booth, and our economic impact study findings, there's a handout for it. I would encourage you guys to take it and review it. I think we have an online form of it too on our website. It's awesome to see the statistics, because I don't know if you guys do Gallup strengths or whatever. My number 1 strength is learner, but my number 2 is analytical. So I love data-driven solutions and approaches. So look at that economic impact study and see some of the effects that we've had in the Siouxland area, but also just here in Winnebago. It's amazing to see. So, and then our approach, our model, our tribal structure, our tribal business structure is modeled all across the U.S. You see tribes all over the place that have, we call them like little mini Ho-Chunk Incs. They're structured just like us. And Lance actually wrote how all that structure was. So this is a sign. I don't know if you guys got to see it when you came into town. Lance really likes to share this all the time, so we threw it on there. He's super proud of it. We wanted to be able to share a little bit of context of where we are. Obviously, you guys drove down here. I don't know if we're Sioux City, South Dakota, where everybody's from, but this is just to give you a little context of where we are in relationship to some of the larger cities around us. But this next slide is where I'm going to kind of transition over here to John, because he's really going to talk about the foundational time periods of Ho-Chunk Inc., some of our business codes that were established even far beyond this, and some of the individuals that were a part of it. As you can see, he's in the picture here, and Lance in the beginning years of Ho-Chunk Inc. But I really want to pass the mic to John, because there's no one better to learn this from than him, who was a part of it. So go ahead, John.
I guess, well, I was kind of young then, wasn't I? 71 now. But the real difficulty in the creation of HCI was two major things. One was control. The 9-member body, we partnered with Harvard. I think it was the JFK School of Governance. And they went around Indian country and they did a number of assessments. And they went with the leadership. And of course, our chairman went at the time. And one of the findings they had was one that all tribal governments didn't want to hear. And it was obvious, because we'd argued this ourselves. You know, governance and business don't mix. Business needs to boom. We need to study forever. But we couldn't come to that conclusion. But when I came in 1985, and I was elected, as I said, I didn't know very much. I came there primarily for youth activities, youth sports. That was my background. But I had to learn a lot of other things. But that group of people, a group of like-minded people, began a process that I became a part of. And part of that is the political process of our government. In order to make significant changes, you need the majority. And I don't mean 5, I mean 6 or 7. During this process, the time that HCI came to be, there were 7 of us. The vote to create HCI, didn't say HCI at the time, was called the Winnebago Business Development Act of 1986. That was a 5-4 vote. It was a 5-4 vote. And even our 5th vote, I remember her saying, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I really am uncomfortable with this, you know. But that study had showed us that all of the businesses started in Indian country by tribal governments failed. They all failed. And then we were sitting there and saying, I don't know. It seemed like that missile silo that they were building, that was no, it failed. Oh, that housing, didn't that do pretty good? The guy was fired and walked off the reservation because he said something negative about the tribal government at a local bar. And it came back to the government. And the government said, no, you're not going to call me a son of a bitch. You're out of here. But so those are some of the things. And that began the process of us trying to do this. And even myself, people always ask me, John Taylor does some follow-up for that study and those things that we did 20 years ago or so. And he said, John, what was your feeling? Weren't you pretty confident? I said, no, I was a young guy. I was like, I hope this works, you know. But then in looking at it, and looking at the leadership had the confidence. I was a young guy. The leadership had that confidence to say, we're going to do this. But we were also pretty blessed to know what we needed. We could have hired someone at 100, 200,000, whatever, that had maybe the credentials and maybe he did some. But the key to all this, as Lance said, was to hire someone who had the potential, but who was also a tribal member. That was one of the keys. Because what do? We throw out our own tribal member who's trying his best to do this and that. Business degree, lawyer, young man, very motivated. And so that was, again, the process of really looking at that. And so, having come this far, and I've been out of office for 10 years, but I never was able to find someone or a group that say, you guys take this on now. I never had the luxury of doing that because I was one of the ones that was chosen in the early 80s or mid 80s. And so now part of my job, as I see it, is to bring that forward again, to bring that leadership forward again. And to me, I think that's going to be easy, time consuming, but easy, because we have people like Aaron and Willie who have credentials. They have done some things. And it's that age group that I'm beginning to work with to say, it's kind of scary, it's kind of hard, it's kind of, in 90, I was going to quit. In 1990, I was going to quit. I went to Lincoln and was able to get the job of a director of the Indian Commission back then. And so I was transitioning out. But as luck had it, that didn't happen. But part of it is the real tiresome part, the part of, you have to know almost everything about the tribe. I served as the chairman, and I also served on 10 committees. So I knew what was going on in the college. I knew what was going on in terms of roads. And so that experience, it really created a situation of change and to begin to really believe in some of these things. And, and I want to say, one of those people that taught me was his dad, my brother Daryl. And this picture is when HCI was created, but there's only 4 that were a part of the group that created that Business Development Act in '86. So just wanted to mention that. Hate to go on and on. I know we're limited here, so I'm going to stop.
Well, thank you, John, for all that perspective, especially being a part of that and living that. And I really wanted John to be a part of this because, I thought like I said, it really makes a ton of sense with this group. Imagine what Lance talked about. He set the framework of all the economic disadvantages that we were struggling with not being able to leverage our land, with our political system that was imposed on us, all these different things that put us in a tough situation. And our community was struggling with poverty, with all the different social issues. And in 1994, when we took over management of our casino, and we had this huge influx of money come to the tribe, and at that time, we also knew that Iowa was going to legalize gaming and start building boats and all these casinos in Council Bluffs. And as a tribe, we seen, well, we got to do something. Are we just going to sit here and milk this casino for 2 years while they build? Or are we going to be proactive and strategize of how we're still going to continue to grow? And at that point, in 1994, I told John this yesterday in a long discussion, is like, that was a strong demonstration of leadership to be in those seats and have a community that's struggling with poverty and having money coming to you, but still being able to kind of take a chance. Like the courage it took from a leadership standpoint to say, you know what, we're actually going to invest $9 million into this 25-year-old guy that just graduated from college to start this economic development business. And even though all the other tribal businesses in the past had failed, we're going to take another chance because we see what's going to happen. We see the casinos coming, the competition coming, and how are we going to find ways to be proactive to mitigate some of the losses that were going to happen. So I thought it was great that John could share some of that because that takes a ton of courage. As he said in 1986, it was a 5-4 vote. It was hard for people to think about doing something like this because you had all the other short-term issues in front of you. How do you think long-term under those circumstances? And the fact that we had some leadership do that is truly powerful. So I really wanted to set the foundation of this conversation on that because we can talk about what Ho Chunk Inc. did last year, the last 5-10 years, but we wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for those people there and the people in 86 that developed the Winnebago Tribal Business Development Act. So thank you, John, for sharing that. I want to dive into some of the things at Ho Chunk Inc. So as you can see here, this is actually a picture of our interns. And one thing that we talk about is always about opportunity at Ho Chunk Inc. So As you can see here, creating a vicious cycle of opportunity. Our people live in an environment where success is not a dream, it's an expectation. We do an internship program every year, 20 to 25 interns. Willie in his department, I think Terry's up there too. They put on an internship program that brings in 20 to 25 highly capable, educated individuals and give them an opportunity. I think in this picture, maybe 75% of them are tribal members. But yeah, we do things like this when you talk about leadership. One of the biggest takeaways, and I just got asked this question today about leadership. What's one of the biggest things that you've taken away from being a part of leadership or being developed by a mentor like Lance has been my mentor since I've started here. And one of the biggest things that I take away is the ability to develop others, always be thinking about the next generation of leadership, because I got that opportunity. So I think all of us in this room you guys are all up and coming leaders. You are either identified by the business you work with or the business you're running. One thing that I would encourage all of you to do is to always be thinking about the next generation of leadership within your division, within your family, whatever that looks like. But that's truly important. If you want to be a strong leader one day, you always got to be thinking about the people that are with you and the people that you want to see succeed. So I wanted to share that slide on the internship program. This is a saying that we have at Ho Chunk Inc. To do one thing, you have to do everything. It truly is a cycle. When you start talking about the things that you see here in Winnebago, Ho Chunk Inc. has really developed a system that kicks out opportunities, that kicks out some of these great individuals that are becoming leaders in our community. We have our profit centers, but we have home ownership. We're giving back to our community, education through scholarships, internships, apprenticeships, all those different things. Obviously, the employment, access to financing, from our home ownership standpoint. But one of these things that we talk about is like, well, how do we can develop this huge company in Winnebago, but how do we get our tribal members to stay here? Some of them are going off to college. They want to come back. All of our housing is based off of income. It's all low-income federal housing. How do we get them to come back and stay here? They can't even live here. So a lot of times we've lost a lot of our highly educated, our highly capable tribal members to come back and contribute. So we have to start doing housing. We got to find ways to retain our potential leaders for the business or for the government. So we started doing housing. Well, we can't get people to buy houses because their credit's bad. They're going up to Sioux City and they're buying cars at 20% interest, and it's killing their interest rates. And sometimes us natives struggle to kind of manage that sometimes. So what did we do? We started to use car dealership to start fixing people's credit so they can buy a home and start coming back to our community. So when we talk about to do one thing, we have to do everything. That's kind of what I'm talking about. We're super vertically integrated into all the different efforts that we're doing. So do you have the video? Yes. So the next part of this is we're going to share a video with you guys. It kind of recaps our 30th anniversary. If you didn't know, Ho Chunk Inc. Has been around since '94, obviously, so we'll be celebrating 32 years this year. But we had a huge celebration here in Winnebago on the 30th anniversary, and we wanted to share this and pay attention because there's a turn and talk afterwards.
I'm going to make a word of prayer here on behalf of what's taking place in our little village here. And I want to say thank you to everybody that had a hand in making this possible here today. Aho maono changa come cheer at this time so pinigigi to want to get up to you for this day.
Ho Chunk's 30, and it was not an easy thing to set up Ho Chunk Inc. The tribe was poor, and we took half the money invested in the future. Some of it went to the investment fund, and some of it went to Ho Chunk Inc. And the council that did that was Victor Bird, Jerome LaPointe, C.C. Earth, John Blackhawk, Art Reynolds, Ramona Wolf, Norma Steeler, Delmer Free, and Anthony Earth. This morning, I wasn't sure how I felt about this event. It made me feel old, right? Because it's 30 years. I was doing this since I was 26 years old. And so it's been an honor and a privilege to do it. And I really want to make sure that this is a celebration of the people who made it possible, of the people who've worked here, and the people who've supported us over the years. If it wasn't for the commitment of the Winnebago people to support us through the thick and the thin, this wouldn't happen, and this town wouldn't be here, and all these kids wouldn't be playing here, and all the jobs we wouldn't have, and the future I don't think has ever looked brighter for us. So thank you very much. A shout out to the Winnebago people.
All right.
I am so happy to be here to celebrate Ho Chunk Inc.'s 30th anniversary and really lift up a program that is integral to the advancement of our federal agencies across the board, and that's the government contracting, the 8A, which Ho Chunk Inc. is one of our great success stories in that regard.
I wanted to give a thank you to all the tribal leadership. I'm glad that Lance was able to mention the initial tribal council, but there's been 29 other tribal councils since then, so I want to thank all of them too, because they've played a part in keeping this thing going and all the successes that have happened. And we're doing good. I see the physical impact in Winnebago, but I see a transformation in the way our tribal members and our community members carry themselves. We've set a new standard of living. We've set a new standard for what we expect from our children, from ourselves, and that's what's going to take us into the future of what the Winnebago tribe looks like. So we couldn't do this without you guys. So I want to thank you guys for your continued support.
To come 30 years from when my mother was first started HCI, I'm very proud of that, to come from that family belief and community belief in what HCI can do for our community. I want to thank every staff member here with HCI that put on this awesome event. And I want to thank everybody who's here to help celebrate the 30 years of HCI. Pinagigi.
All right, so the next part of this is just going to be a quick couple minutes of reflection, and maybe do it with your partner. This is definitely a Teacher Willie thing. Just for a quick break, 2 minutes, talk about a couple of things that you took away from the video, or what you found interesting. So I'll give you guys a couple minutes to share with your peers around you, so don't be scared. Before we move on into the presentation, do we have any volunteers that want to share something that they found interesting from the video, or something they learned from their peer from this? I know we got some courageous leaders out here that want to share, so.
I'll share. Hi everyone, my name is Kiana Lewis. I work at Ho Chunk Inc. within the corporate communications team, and for me, the most interesting thing for me was being able to really be behind the scenes of that video. And I was the one that had to create the shot list and kind of the different questions, and kind of really be behind approving it and kind of how we wanted the video to flow. And it's just really cool to see it being played in front of everyone and having everyone enjoy, and really being able to share my community, and even just some of the work that I get to do as well.
Thank you, Kiana. If we don't have any more, we're gonna keep moving along in this presentation. But I guess one thing that I wanted you guys to take from that video was to show that Ho Chunk Inc. isn't just this corporation making money. We're making a real impact in the community, and we truly give back to them. We do this on an annual basis. I think we did cancel this past year, but it was because of many different other reasons. But we try to do that every year, find ways to give back to our community and share some of the work that we're doing. There was booths at that of all of our entities. If any of our tribal members, any of our community members wanted to know, hey, what is Ho Chunk Farms doing? They could go and talk to them, talk about the different work that we're doing. We really want to be engaged in our community and find ways to give back. A majority of them people come because there's free food and we give cool prizes, but, we got a question.
Just to see the community involvement and everything, I think is probably the biggest thing I thought out of that.
Yep, and I think that was kind of the...
Understanding it more than what our community does.
Yeah. And you may have noticed that in the very beginning. I didn't really touch on it, but on the very first slide, it talks about, it literally says the people's company, and we have a socioeconomic approach to all the business that we do. If we're not changing the lives of our community members, you've seen it in our mission. Our mission is to create jobs for tribal members and bring economic self-sufficiency to the Winnebago tribe. So we can go out and do all the great things. We're in Virginia, we're in Colorado Springs, we're overseas in Iraq, all over the place. We can do all those great things, but if we're not changing people's lives in the community, then we're really not living up to the mission that we talked about. Remember one of those learning objectives too. What's that? Oh yeah. So hey, we got an employee over here. So we actually got 3 employees in Leadership Siouxland, but she brought up a good point. We also, a while back, one of my past mentors and one of our past executives that has recently left, we talked about partnering with United Way. Came to us and they're like, hey, we want to be a part. We're a huge entity. They want us to be a part of it and do all the great work. And we talked about, well, can you promise to us that you'll target our community with some of these efforts? And they were like, well, we can't promise that. It totally depends on the committee and all this. So we were like, what the heck, we'll just do our own. So we started Ho-Chunk Way, and it's an employee donation program. I do cover it in one of the slides of the financial contribution, but we have somebody on the Ho-Chunk Way committee here that's been a part of it for a while, but I want to say do you know, Linnell? I want to say it's like around the total contribution from the Ho-Chunk Way year to date.
It's over 600,000 or 700,000.
So just in the last, that program's what? Since 2017, for 9 years, and that's just the employees giving their own money towards this effort. And over the last 9 years, we've been able to raise $700,000, and we have a whole program that supports it. There's all these criteria. It has to go towards like some of our targeted areas, whether it's elders or youth or education or something like that. There's a vetting process. You apply for it. And we've done tons of awesome projects here in the Winnebago community through that program. Thanks for bringing that up. Here's a timeline. Lance actually really covered a lot of this. Some of the earlier things through us making it to the reservation. Even in our cultural presentation, they covered some of these things. But there's some pivotal times in here is the tribe opens Winnebago Casino in 1992, and I talked about it a little bit. We took over management. That was Lance's first win as a lawyer for the tribe, taking over management of it, and that's when the competition was coming, and we're like, well, what are we going to do? How are we going to manage through all of this? Well, let's start Ho-Chunk Inc. And like you can see here in '94, Ho-Chunk Inc. was founded. The Ho-Chunk Village, this was established in the year 2000. I can go into tons of detail on this development, but I want to keep this presentation moving forward. Some of our milestones in revenue. We did that economic impact study. We did one in 2000, and we just recently did one in 2020. So if you do get a copy of it, it'll show all of the changes from median household income, how we've created a middle class on the reservation. Yep.
When you say taking over management for Winnebago, what does that mean? Like they gave it up, you bought it, or?
So Lance could John could talk about this, but at that time we had a management company running the casino. From my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, we had a management company overseeing it, and they were taking like 40% of the profit or 60% or something. And at that time when Lance came to be a lawyer, he's like, well, we can do it ourselves. Let's kick this management company out. And that's what happened through a legal fight. And that's what allowed the Winnebago tribe to take over ownership of Winnebago and the casino and take 100% of the profits. But then that was also the time when the ticking bomb started of, well, I was going to start some competition, and that was, 1992. Do you want to elaborate any more on how that worked?
Just generally speaking, that's how the majority of Indian casinos were operated. 50-50, or somebody from Vegas who came in some kind of management contract, and at worst 60-40, where the tribe only got 40%. And so it was like, but we were lucky, actually, and maybe we were put a little bit daring. The people that we hired as our management team were local people from Vermilion. One was a teacher. ex-librarian. What they all did is they all pooled together their money to begin the process of buying the machines, and we started out in trailers. I don't know how many of you're probably all too young, but we started out in trailers. There was about 5 or 6 trailers that were all attached. And so that's when we began the process. And when we had these arguments about what we should do, that's where Lance said, well, let's do it ourselves. Why can't we? And of course, tribes, as I said, with businesses, it's a little bit easier because you also have the immunity thing. And so that's what we did.
Hopefully that answered your question. I'm going to keep this moving. Lance already, I think he had this slide pulled up somewhere when he was talking, but I did want to cover him a little bit too. He did talk about sovereign immunity and what that means, the tribal tax immunity, federal tax immunity, federal capital gain tax exemptions, the state income tax, some of these regulatory powers, and then this 8A program, the federal advantages like the 8A program and loan guarantee programs. The 8A program is the government contracting that Lance touched on a little bit that is currently under attack. But then he also talked about these two, Ho-Chunk Inc. having a large capital base. Every tribe in the nation has all of these. These ones that are bolded are more specific to Ho-Chunk Inc. And we like to share those. And as he talked about institutional knowledge and expertise. There's the Ho-Chunk Center. If you're from Sioux City, you might know this is one of the buildings that we've bought in the last 10 years or so.
Where Wells Fargo is.
If you ever want to come visit, my office is on 8th floor. Here's some of the economic drivers. So we pulled a couple of these statistics from the economic impact study. We thought it's super relevant to this group to understand our economic impact in the tri-state area. As you know, we're here in Winnebago, but we do tons of business in North Sioux, in Sioux City, South Sioux City. We're kind of all over the place. So see, these are some of the numbers. I just looked at it in the economic impact study before I got up here, and our total dividend to the tribe as of 2020 was $34 million. So they put $9 million in, and I want to say it's close to 50 now through dividends. Pretty good return on investment if you ask me. Labor income, this is from 2020, so all these statistics are from 2022, sorry, from that economic impact study. So this is our payroll just in Iowa, Nebraska, and South Dakota. Some of the taxes in the region, obviously, I know for a fact just in 2025 we paid $35 million just in gaming tax to the state of Nebraska. So this number is huge because that was before this. Some of our donations, as we just talked about through Ho-Chunk Way, or we have a charitable giving committee that gives tons of money away too. This number is much bigger than that now. This is a little bit outdated data, and then this is tribal operations from an employment standpoint. Here's a lot of our businesses. Some of them might look familiar to you. Ho-Chunk Construction's up there in South Sioux City. They're the ones building the casinos in Omaha and Lincoln right now, and they do a lot of our development there in South Sioux and Sioux City. Ho-Chunk Capital, that's in Winnebago and in Sioux City. Warhorse Gaming, I'll talk about that a little bit more later. A&G and Flatwater, these are our government contracting agencies up at the top. Obviously, Ho-Chunk Inc. is the parent company of all of these divisions. Blue Earth Marketing, that's there in the Ho-Chunk Center if you guys are familiar with that business. Dynamic Homes is a home manufacturing company we own in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. And Bluestone Homes, that's there in South Sioux City. That's our single family home building company. Blue Sky is another government contracting agency. And then some of these smaller entities at the bottom. And when we say small, it's kind of funny because this is where I started at Ho-Chunk Farms, and Ho-Chunk Farms farms 7,500 acres now, but it's still like 1% of what Ho-Chunk Inc. does from a revenue standpoint, and it's one of the largest farms in the area right now. So when you talk about scale, it's crazy to think that that's just right here in Northeast Nebraska, just in Winnebago. Go ahead, Linnell.
I just want to add a little context because a lot of those are some of our divisions within Ho-Chunk Inc., but in total, Ho-Chunk Inc. has over 110 companies under the parent company.
Yep, so 110 active subsidiary companies of Ho-Chunk Inc. in all different business industry sectors. Like I said, government contracting is a big part of it. Warhorse is a big one. These are a lot of the smaller companies around here. Native American Bank is out of Denver, Colorado. We own like 40% of that bank. here's a revenue chart. The revenue part is good and all, but what I do want to touch on, just for the sake of this crowd and what we're trying to accomplish tonight, is it shows revenue growth, but it also shows strategy at the bottom, are some of the areas that we were focusing on at that time. If Lance was here, he would talk about, if somebody gave you $9 million, would you invest all $9 million into the poorest town in Nebraska? Probably not. You're going to go out and invest in different areas. So in 1994, when we first started, we were doing hotels, all kinds of stuff in like Omaha, Lincoln, kind of all over the place, trying to find ways to make money and bring it back to Winnebago. And this strategy still lives on today. We still do a ton of this. Obviously, we're in Sioux City, we're in Virginia, we're in Denver, we're all over the place. So we still do this. We have a lot of local businesses. That's our way of contributing to the local community here in Winnebago. A lot of our local companies aren't really profitable, and they're really offset by some of the off-reservation business that we do that allow us to farm, to have a coffee shop, a gas station, different things like that. But we've always shifted strategies, and just like Lance just like John and the tribal government in 1994. They had the foresight of knowing, hey, competition's coming. What are we going to do? Let's start Ho-Chunk Inc. They actually started an investment portfolio at that time too, which was very controversial and hard to do. But they had the foresight. They were being strategic. They were being long-term thinkers, being visionaries, like we all want to be as leaders. So this is kind of our opportunity to do it as an executive team over the last 30 years. And we've always done that. So outside in, and then we leveraged our civil regulatory strategy. So like we talked about, we get to implement our own taxes as long as it's on the reservation. So tobacco and fuel, those are like the poster child type business for any sort of tribe on the reservation. Let's just incorporate a tobacco tax, sell a ton of cigarettes for cheap. Anybody that knows, like they always see, discounted cigarettes or gas on the reservation, it's because we get to do our own tax, and it supersedes the state tax. So it gives us the marketing advantage to get people to come to the reservation and buy. So we did tons of tobacco, fuel, took advantage of 8A, different things like that. And then we realized, hey, we're doing really good with tobacco. We're doing good in government contracting, but we really need to diversify because those are all at-risk companies. They could change a law that eliminates the 8A program, or they could, we were rated by the ATF about our tobacco, like around in here. We were found non-guilty. We didn't do anything wrong, but it was more of a sovereignty fight. But we knew that day was coming. So what are we doing? We got to diversify. We got to find other revenue sources so when that day happens, we don't just collapse. So we were always finding ways to diversify, and that's when we took this strategy. We started a construction company. We bought Dynamic Homes in Minnesota, started all these different businesses. And then through that, we could be doing all these great things, like I said, out in Colorado, Virginia, all these different areas. But if we're not impacting our community, then we're not really doing our job. Our mission is to positively impact the community through jobs or through economic self-sufficiency. And we were doing that off reservation, but there was no visibility on the reservation. So that's when we really shifted towards incorporating a community strategy. Let's start building projects. Let's build the village, as you guys may have seen. And that's when that started. So a lot of these strategies, they continue. Civil regulatory, we don't do a ton of tobacco. We used to do, before we got rated, we did $80 million in 1 year in selling cigarettes, and now it does like 10. It was on track to do $100 million that year. And that was actually in, what year was that? Was like right here, 17 or something. You can't even tell from a revenue standpoint that $80 million was lopped off our revenue that year because we were so well balanced with mitigating all of our risks throughout all the different divisions that we were doing. And then we also looked into asset accumulation. Well, if they can't change the law, if they're not going to, they might be able to take government contracting, they can take the tobacco advantages, they can take all this away. They're not going to, Lance always jokingly says, they're not going to take our land if we buy some stuff. But we started to really dive into real estate investment. So this is when like Ho-Chunk Capital was started. They really start buying tons of real estate in the Sioux City, Omaha, Bellevue, North Sioux area, and that's really where this strategy came. And then obviously gaming is a new part of our strategy, kind of came full circle. We were started with gaming money in 1994, and now we're doing gaming ourselves, and it's become a huge part of our business. Here's some of the our socioeconomic approach talks about how we reinvest into Ho-Chunk. So we give 25% of our profits back to the government. That's our obligation through our business structure. The other 75% gets to get reinvested into the company. But of our 75, we do a lot. We invest a lot into programs, partnership, charitable giving. Some of these businesses, local businesses that might not be profitable, some of that 75 reinvestment goes into that. These are the 5 priority areas of the tribe that were established quite a few years ago. A lot of our planning, a lot of our approaches, a lot of the business that we do, we make sure that we keep these 5 priority areas in mind. This is the flow of a lot of our revenue. Shows all of our businesses. All the revenue, and it's actually scaled the way that it contributes. So as you can see, government contracting, huge part of our business. Gaming just continues to grow as we expand. These are a lot of our small little local businesses that you guys might be more familiar with in the Siouxland area. Shows all of our profits as it goes 25% to the tribal government. A lot of our housing programs, down payment assistance, some of those things, a lot of the funding goes over to that. Reinvestment into the community, then reinvestment into the company. So this is kind of the hot topic of Ho-Chunk Inc. right now. This is one of our new business ventures. We started a casino entity from scratch in the last 4 or 5 years. So we have a casino in Omaha, we have a casino in Lincoln, and we're actually going to break ground on a casino in South Sioux here this summer. We're just finalizing some of those designs. But yeah, we're super excited. This is, like I said, we literally built this entity from scratch. When we passed that initiative to legalize gaming, so Ho-Chunk actually put all the money up to get on the ballot, all the three constitutional amendments that happened. We funded that entire thing. It was like $7 million. Lance couldn't sleep during the election or the week of the election, because if it didn't pass, we just blew $7 million thinking that we could pass something. So, and it did pass by a long shot. Like 69% of the state voted for gaming in Nebraska. So, but then we had to build these things, and we asked our leadership, do we bring in a partner? We could have sold them that day for like $400 million or something, just the rights to the casinos. But we're like, nope, we're gonna go in, we're gonna do this. So we've been building these casinos. We're super local, as you know, Ho-Chunk Inc. So it's hard. Our competitors are the Caesars, the Harrah's, all them people that have tons of money. But yeah, we started Warhorse, and we built the first one in Lincoln was phase 1. Then phase 1 of Omaha was opened, and then phase 2 of Omaha was opened, phase 2 of Lincoln. And right now Lincoln is currently going under construction with another like $70 million expansion that's going to double the size of our Lincoln casino. So we currently are the only casinos in Omaha and Lincoln, and we will be building one in South Sioux. Oh, I forgot. This is a quick little rendering. You guys are the only people in Sioux City that have seen this. So this is just a sneak peek. It's not really, we're really getting close, but we're hoping to have this complete in 2027. It's about a 14-month build out, about 400 slots, 8 table games, sports book, restaurant, 232 local jobs. Ho-Chunk Construction will build this along with tons of local subcontractors. Our whole initiative was keep the money in Nebraska, so all of our vendors are always from Nebraska. We want to stimulate that, so it's super important to us. But yeah, this is the casino. I don't know anybody from South Sioux. They know where Everett's Furniture is. It's going right behind Everett's Furniture in a cornfield back there by the horse track. But yeah, we're really going for an entertainment type design. This is a 2-story sports bar that is super cool. We'll hopefully have some small concerts and stuff in it. It's kind of cool. We have outdoor patio seating. The horse track's like right here, so you can be out on the patio and watch the horse racing. Yeah, right now it's a $90 million project. We're trying to get it to about 70. Lance didn't like that when we told him the first budget. This is a Siouxland development project. I don't know if anybody familiar with downtown Sioux City. This is the Boston block. We actually own this block here. This includes the Ems building. You guys know where Soho and Buffalo Alice is. We own that building. We own the Majors building next to it as well. We just renovated all 21 units above Soho. So anybody looking for an apartment, they're super cool, all brand new. But this is actually going to be this historic building is going to be turning into 44 apartments, actually 2 condos. These we're not going to sacrifice this cool view here. So these are actually 2 big condos facing 4th Street, and then 44 apartments, 5 stories. The bottom space will be commercial. We're looking for restaurants. So if you're a restaurant owner. Flatwater Crossing. Anybody from the South Sioux area would know that this development's happening there along the river. We bought 200 acres. We've been building single family homes down there. We have a couple multifamily units down there as well. This has been phased out into 5 phases. We're just about completed with phase 1 along the river. We sold 20 acres to South Sioux City Public Schools, so they're going to build us. If the bond passes in South Sioux, they'll be building a couple of schools down in Flatwater Crossing. But yeah, super cool lots. I don't know if you've ever been down there. If not, go take a look at it. We got like 60 lots for sale down there. If you're looking to build a home, reach out. But yeah, this is one of our opportunities to kind of redevelop in South Sioux City. This is a Ho-Chunk Capital project here. And we're to the end of the PowerPoint. So I don't even know what time it is, but we're gonna have some Q&A. But what we're gonna do before that is we're gonna retake the poll. There it is. Oh. So if you could, and we're going to kind of reflect on people's answers. I looked at some of the recent data from the first one. It looks like there was kind of mixed understanding of Ho-Chunk Inc.'s mission, their impact in the Siouxland area, and the impact here in Winnebago. So I'm hoping that scores get a little better, but if not, I'm right here for questions so that we can improve those scores. I really want this to be engaging, but I know it's getting late. It's probably been a long day. And it is 8:20, so. And
Those are some of the results now.
And the live results look amazing. So we started at about a 2.5 average on a 1 through 5 scale, and it looks like we're at like 4.7. So all that means to me is there's no questions probably. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to do that because if we did score low, I wanted that to kind of really transition into some questions. But I mean, great scores, but I still want to give an opportunity for Q&A about anything that was asked, whether it was from John, from really anybody. I'll try my best to answer, but yeah, I'm hoping that we do have a couple of questions.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. With as many businesses as two of you mentioned that you have, I would imagine that not all of them are profitable. How do you deal with those?
That's a really good question, and I talked about it a little bit. If we have a local business that's not profitable, but it's making a strong impact in the community that it's centered in, we're usually willing to kind of take on that expense because it's being offset in other areas. You're not going to find any other corporation that's probably going to do that. So, but that's when we're talking about a socioeconomic model, that's really what it is. And especially in Winnebago, I mean, we have a Sweetwater. Our gas station actually does fairly okay. Our farm, it struggles from time to time. We have a lot of local, but it has 7 full-time employees. We paid $3 million a year to the tribe, so it increased land values through a law that we created that really brought that up. So the tribe is winning on the back end. We're okay with that. If we lose a little bit of money farming, as long as they're getting above fair market value now. So it truly is. It kind of depends on how things are going to. We've had some tough times in the last couple of years, and we've dissolved quite a few companies in the last couple of years because maybe it just didn't fit the direction we were trying to go. So it's not there. I can't really give you one hard answer of this is why we would do it, but any of our businesses in Winnebago that are employing people are driving some sort of economic measure in our community. We're usually open to kind of absorbing that, but we also are obligated to give the tribe money every year through a dividend, so we have to manage that too. So from a leadership standpoint, it's really balancing that and finding ways to make those businesses that are struggling profitable if we can. So like the stores used to have 8 locations, we're down to 3. But we had locations out in areas where we probably shouldn't even have been, and it just made sense. It wasn't employing tribal members. It was struggling financially. There was a couple things that changed, whether like a road got moved or something. It just didn't make sense anymore. So some of those we've been able to step away from. So
one last thing. I'm going to show how ignorant I am, but I don't know why I always thought that Ho Chunk was some sort of New York banking big conglomerate, but it's really great to see that it's a local tribe effort. So that's great to see. And
Yeah. Our entire executive team is pretty local. I mean, you got our CEO Lance is in Sioux City, Winnebago, Omaha. Our CFO is in Bellevue. Our newly chief, I think she's operating officer, is in Winnebago, and but she's a tribal member as well. And then myself, we have a couple of other young up and coming executives that we're all local. And it's crazy to think that there's a $600 million, $500 million company here that is ran by people that live in the town next to you. So it's pretty incredible. So thank you for that. We had a question over here.
What percentage of your employees, I don't think it's on, what percentage of your employees are tribal members?
The lady next to you could probably answer that because I think that's her job.
Point it at your mouth when you talk. That helps.
10 to 12%.
Yeah. And we have, I mean, Lance always says our company looks like America. I mean, we got 12% tribal members. We got other tribes, tons of other tribes that work for us too, other tribes. And then, I mean, we monitor a lot of that stuff, but we're a super diverse company. But we have two headquarters. We have one in Virginia, and a lot of our employees, government employees, are overseas and different things like that. So when a majority of your employees are off reservation, it's kind of hard to have that. We would love for tribal members off the reservation. Like Warhorse is a great opportunity to start employing tribal members that live in Omaha and Lincoln. We do have a tribal preference when we do hire because you see in our mission, we want to give jobs to tribal members. But yeah, to answer your question, about 10 to 12.
Just a question on
Thompson Solutions, is that where you are?
So obviously very analytical person myself as well. And looking at the just revenue chart and how it's grown, how have you seen that relate back to like the tribe's population and like retention, and how does that kind of like play a role in kind of growing the local community here? Yeah,
so from a revenue standpoint, I don't know if the tribe's population really affects that. Like I said, I would say 97% of our business happens off reservation. So there's not a true real impact when it comes to population in the community to that huge number, especially with 80% of it being government contracting. But our need in the community continues to grow. I mean, I keep on saying this. I would encourage you guys to grab that economic impact study because it shows our growth in population. It shows that Winnebago just continues to grow, and a lot of us from rural towns in Nebraska, Iowa, we understand that it's kind of the opposite in most places. But there's opportunity. We're creating opportunities here. Our school's just growing like crazy. I graduated 19, and I think we graduate like 60 now or something. Like, and that was just in like 15, 16 years. That was a long time ago. But we're growing, and I don't think it really reflects from a revenue standpoint, just because we're so far away.
Like what I meant, sorry, was like as the revenue in Ho Chunk Inc. grows, I imagine that allows you to put more money back into the.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Like the growth from like say 2000 to now.
Yep. Yeah, from a capital distribution back into the community, it's allowed us to do much more things. Like we couldn't do Ho Chunk Farms we started Ho Chunk Farms in 2013, but any time before that, we could have never done that because we didn't have the revenue to support doing something like that. So to answer your question, it does gives us much more flexibility to do more things in the community through that growth. So sorry, I just misunderstood you a little bit, but.
Camilla.
Hi, I just have more of a comment than a question. My name is Camilla Barajas. I work for the Winnebago Public Health Department, and I'm the first Winnebago Comprehensive Healthcare System employee that was sent by the Winnebago Health Foundation. That's a mouthful. But just my point is that there's all these different arenas here in Winnebago that are very successful. There's the healthcare we've seen the education, and then business, of course, is very successful. But what I love about working in Winnebago is that I'm an urban Indian. I grew up in Sioux City. So I grew up seeing a lot of leaders who were non-native. And then working here, I can see leaders who are native, and it really makes me proud. And then some of the work that Ho Chunk Inc. is doing through their, what was that called? Ho Chunk Way helps our public health department as well, because we are primarily grant funded. And, you know, in this time, we're kind of struggling with we're keeping our grants going, but the money goes to things like the wellness center or the senior center, and it really helps out a lot.
Thank you
all
for
I
the
wanted to say.
thank you
Thanks.
for the comment. We have a question here. Nothing too hard, Kiana.
My question is for John. So just being a young tribal council member at the time Ho Chunk Inc. was, really started, did you, or I guess the council members at the time, know that you guys were doing the right thing or taking the step in the right direction when you guys did, start Ho Chunk Inc. or take some of the profits from Vegas to, really begin Ho Chunk Inc.? Did you guys think you guys were doing the right thing?
Yeah, we had the body had some very, very talented people, and our leader, our chairman at the time, he wasn't just a local leader or a national leader. He was an international leader. That's the time that he spent, and our benefit is learning those things from him and doing it. He always did this, and this applies in terms of business. He always did things in a good way. When he met with people, you never saw anyone pounding the table and saying, "No, I disagree." It was always smiling. It was always those things. And so it was educating ourselves. I and his dad, Daryl, we went to Ball State for a week-long economic development course so we could kind of learn and understand, what we're doing. But it was that kind of hard work that really, that was backed by science and research and all those things to know that. That's why, in terms of that vote I was talking about, I was going to vote yes. There was no doubt about it. Even though I didn't like the the history of us failing, that was the truth. And so you've got to deal with those things, and you have to do it in terms of the entire. Well, the picture's not there, but the entire group and how you interact and how you do these things. And even the little priest, I had some hesitation, but NICC, that that agreement that we had with the other two tribes was becoming very, very burdensome and kind of toxic. And then so we began a process of saying, well, we'll create our own and let's do the research. And how do we do that? Well, we do it by going to the accrediting entity. We go to the chairman of that, Dr. Breslin, and ask her, if we're going to start a small community college, how do we get it accredited? And she makes trips down here. So, it's the idea of really taking things apart to say, how do we do it? And then on the political side as well, how can we help her? How can, all those things. So to me, that's the exciting part of tribal government that I'm pushing for you guys. I don't know who it's going to be. Charlie, where you at? But whoever it is, that's good. But it's not me that's picking, it's you guys that are picking. All I'm saying is, here's the criteria. Are you hardworking? Are you honest? Do you have that integrity? Do you have that knowledge? Do you have some credentials? And I can look around the room, there's a lot of you that have that. So that's a good part about it. Sorry, I wandered.
Do you have any more questions before we wrap up? I don't know. Oh, yep. Huh?
We got one up here and we got one down here. Where's the other mic?
I'm just curious, what types of commodities are primarily produced by Ho Chunk Farms? Is that something that you guys have adjusted over time, and how do you make those decisions?
So a majority of Ho Chunk Farms is just in the basic commodity market, like everybody else in Nebraska: corn, soybeans, alfalfa, and a lot of that is just because it's access to market. I mean, around here, that's what we have ethanol. We're lucky to have Blair, an ethanol plant, an hour away. We got the soybean crush plant there in Sioux City that is pretty well established. But we did transition a little bit outside of that. So of our 7,500 acres, 1,000 of it is actually certified organic, and we do a lot of that around our development areas or some of those some of those areas where maybe it's not the easiest to farm or something, so nobody wants to take it and it's been idle for a couple of years, and we're like, well, hey, if it's been sitting idle for 3 years, we're gonna go into organic. So, and for us, it's kind of just the way it needs to be done, and it's a value add opportunity. And I don't know if you guys know the elevator in South Sioux City or Dakota City that was just recently bought. That's an organic grain buyer, so we take all of our organic corn and soybeans up there. And then we do some local food production. So our Indian corn, the soup you guys ate, we produced that last year. That's a community project that we do. That started back in like 2017, and it's been a super. It kind of really supports what we've been talking about our mission as a socioeconomic development corporation. We do some of those things because it's preserving culture, and we kind of play that role in the community as Ho Chunk Farms. So we've been doing that for years now. It's a great thing. If it happens every year in like August, come be a part of it. We have tons of people that come down and just participate. We have hundreds of people that participate in the harvest, whether it's the school or our community members. But yeah, a majority of our work is like I said, in conventional corn, soybeans, and alfalfa, but we do organic corn and soybeans and alfalfa as well. So, and that's just because we got to be somewhat profitable too, because we're paying, our law doesn't allow us to get a discounted price on the land. It allows us to match the highest bid. And all of our land around here is bid out by the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the BIA, and the tribe. So we developed a law that said we get to match the highest bid. So every piece of land that we have, it's expensive. So we gotta manage that in a way that makes sense financially, but also being good stewards of the land. So that's why we've done some organic and different things like that as well. Right here.
It seems like you have a very positive relationship with the tribal community and the tribal government. And Lance had mentioned that you have understandably an adversarial relationship with non-tribal governments and agencies. Can you talk about your relationship with the local Siouxland government and those types of relationships?
Yeah, and so I'm fairly new to the Siouxland. I've been the CEO of Ho Chunk Capital for like a year and a half, and I was truly like in the Winnebago area for most of my career. But I'm actually on the Siouxland Chamber Board of Directors. I've been kind of incorporated into some of the business network in Sioux City, but within that business network, obviously you're working with the city and you're working with the mayor, you're working with a lot of the local, and like even your congressional leadership has been super supportive of us. But I think it's all been positive. I think I talked about it earlier because I just filled out this survey about the Siouxland area from a leadership standpoint. And one of my big takeaways from the Siouxland area being incorporated into that group and working with them is I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I know there's a lot of Siouxland businesses in here, but our relationship with all the leadership and the chamber, the city officials, all the different people has been extremely positive. I think it's driven on our impact too. I mean, we're a huge economic player in the area, so I think it kind of comes with the territory when you're doing things like that. But overall, I've had a really good experience with a lot of the leadership in the Siouxland area, and even in the North Sioux, South Dakota area too. So, and Nebraska it's always been a love-hate relationship, I guess, but I mean, we get through it. I don't know if we have any more questions, but well, thank you guys for your attention. Hopefully you learned a little something.
Okay, well, one last thank you and pinagigi to Aaron and John and Lance for tuning in to share with us their perspectives on economic development and leadership. And wow, I mean, that's a lot to take in. I mean, I work there and I still get overwhelmed about hearing about the company and my own tribe. So I can imagine the information overload some of you might be feeling right now. But in any case, I just wanted to give a personal thank you for you guys for coming to Winnebago and learning and sharing. And it looks like John has one last thing to say.
I had one comment. You know, it's kind of, I would be real interested. I know you probably don't have the time to do it, but to each and every one of you to say what you got out of this. I'm just curious. Maybe 2 words, 3 words, a sentence or 2.
Yeah,
I'm just
I've just been kind of honestly surprised hearing all the different hats that people wear. I guess that's just a big takeaway that I've gotten. It's like everybody seems to be involved in just a handful of different activities, but also in each other's lives and in the community. That's more than 2 words. I apologize.
No. Let's move on. If you want to get up and give a speech, you can. Go ahead.
I said this earlier. Every time I saw Ho Chunk Inc., I was thinking of a company, but when we watched the video, I was like, I'm really surprised the sense of unity you can see in the video. It's more than, I would say, maybe a company. So it's like a little community, I would say.
I would say I learned more about just the Ho Chunk and all that you do, and more awareness of what you do for the Winnebago community, and also the surrounding communities in Sioux City and the areas.
Yeah, I would agree with Courtney. Same, lots of awareness about what as a company that you're doing, but then the community impact that you have.
I was just mostly impressed and amazed at how much you guys give back. I didn't realize it was to that extent, but there's a lot of good stuff going on here. So, yeah.
I think just the amount of teamwork and community and trust you have in one another, and recognizing, okay, we need to change, we need to do something about it, and coming together to find the solutions, and then now turning around and returning that to your community and surrounding area.
I'd just say there's a lot of passion, and seeing how the community is all involved, it was really, really cool. So.
I'm an attorney, and I was really excited to hear from a tribal attorney and to get their perspective on the economic situation in our area.
As a tribal member, I really liked how everything was shared. A lot of questions were asked, so it's a better understanding from where we come from here. So I appreciate that. I was listening to everybody, so it's pretty good.
As an employee, it was just really neat for me to get to. I'm just really proud of HCI and the work that we do and the impact that we make that affects my family and my relatives and my community. And it's so meaningful to me. And so to get to share that with other people, that's just really encouraging and motivating.
I was really impressed by the business strategy and just the different ways that they basically diversify their economic impact.
I work in higher education, so I really enjoyed hearing about the emphasis you guys put on the next generation of leaders and kind of setting the stage for them.
I got nothing but respect for your legacy, what you are living for those coming behind you, after you. It's nothing but impressive.
I think it was really interesting to hear the history and the story of Ho Chunk Inc. and kind of the importance of having people who will take that long-term view and take risks from a leadership perspective.
As a Winnebago tribal member, after watching the presentation, I'm just proud of the Winnebago community and HCI as far it has came. So.
I didn't know a whole lot about Ho Chunk before tonight, so seeing how I guess diversified the operation is and how they use those resources and give it back to the community is pretty interesting. So.
Yeah, I would just echo the history piece of it. I thought that was really impactful to share the history on how you went from where you are to how you grew and got to where you are now. And on a lighter note, for bringing horse racing to South Sioux City.
I also really enjoyed hearing the strength and passion come from the people who shared their stories tonight. And I think it really shows the be strong and teach my children. You guys really highlighted that. So
I think for me, just as a young Winnebago tribal member, it's just always very powerful for me to see, past leaders and also future leaders as well discuss our community and just really where we come from. And just discussing the history really helps me learn about how strong our people are and resilient we are as well. And I just, like I said, just as a young tribal member, I'm just always pleased to hear what our elders and our leaders have to say.
I would say the history is interesting, how it all started, and then just the local engagement and impact on the community. Pretty impressive.
I think the thing that really impressed me was learning the different clans and everything that are in the community and understanding how everything has its own spirit. I thought that was really interesting to listen to that.
I did not know a whole lot about Ho-Chunk, but then seeing it says to do one thing, we must do everything, but then the way that you explained that in people need credit to buy a house, so we have to start by buying a car dealership so we can finance them and start from nothing was really, really cool. So.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with everything everyone said, but the just to add something to contribute is, I think learning about the clans and how it seems like you guys, your whole community really embraces the role that they're just given, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of resistance to it. It's really cool to see kind of everyone in a community just grab their role and do their job, so it's really cool.
I enjoyed learning about the history of Ho-Chunk. I've known about it, but didn't realize how diverse you are. And I think just seeing how you're setting the future generations of your tribe up for success with your business diversification.
I found it very impressive also how far you guys have come in really not a big length of time. The amount of turning around for your community that you guys were able to accomplish. And I don't know about everyone else, but I really appreciated the singing. I appreciate the love and the joy that was offered in the healing. I don't know about you guys, but I could feel it in my body when they were singing. I thought that was pretty cool. So thank you very much.
I can't help but think what a better world it would be if every corporation acted with a sense of obligation to give back to their community. I think that's really profound. Ho-Chunk Inc. is trying to get larger so that 25% that they're giving back is a larger number. And that kind of passion can't be faked. They're not doing it for the tax write-off. They're not doing it because it looks good. They're doing it because they really care about their community. And then I also find it very powerful, the young parents with their children passing on those traditions. Sometimes I almost feel jealous. I don't have that special of a cultural practice with my family, and what a neat thing that is. So.
A lot of the same information that everyone shared, but I didn't have a lot of information on Ho-Chunk. So all super impactful, and really, really appreciated seeing the families and the emotion and pride and power that they put into what they're doing with their families and carrying on your guys' traditions. So thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I grew up down the street, so I kind of seen Winnebago grow, like from the outside, all the buildings and how much the town has just changed over the years throughout my life. But it was nice to hear like Aaron talk about the story behind Ho-Chunk and the analytics and kind of paint a picture as a whole. So that was cool.
Yeah, I grew up in a town just right across the street in Emerson, and it's just been amazing to watch over the years how the town has grown. And I feel like what the town has really done and what Ho-Chunk has done is help break the cycle of poverty inside the community and create a middle class to then continue growing that and giving it back into the community. And I just think it's amazing.
I feel like I said a mouthful already, so I'll just say 3 words: resilience, strength, pride.
Hello, everybody. My name is Kayla, Buffalo Chief, and I am Ponca, enrolled Ponca, and my mother was Winnebago. And last year I started fighting for justice for my mother, and it's really nice to come here and learn all these things. And I really appreciated all of the families that came were really in tune with each other and took pride in their culture. And was it John? I loved everything that you said, and you said something about when you guys were working towards achieving all of the things back in the day, you were too busy to document things, and that kind of stuck with me because I get in that moment where I'm not paying attention to all of the things, and when you're making history, you want to be able to pass those things along, and so that really stuck with me. So thank you.
Thanks for making me follow that up. I think I liked hearing about how they took what was an oppressive poverty given to them by the government and history and found a way not to only just survive, but to thrive, while also keeping their culture and personal history of their tribe so important to them. Is that the last?
You're not getting out, board members. These are a couple of our Leadership Siouxland board members, and then we're going to pass it around to some of the Leadership Siouxland alumni here too.
All right. Well, I think as a board member, this is the first visit we've made to Winnebago and to Little Priest Tribal College. It's going to be annually now, for sure. But I think that shows what kind of an impact they've had in the community, because they're not only, as you said, they're not only surviving, they're thriving. This is a $600 million company right in our own backyard. And so I think that's really important in that we, as Siouxland grows and as Ho-Chunk grows, Siouxland is also going to grow with it. And I think this program needs to grow along with that. They have 3 people in it now. We hope we can expand on that and get more. But I think this is something that we can just grow with them along here in Siouxland.
You all know me. I don't need the mic. I'm loud enough. I just want to say thank you above all. When I asked if we could come to Winnebago, it was purely because I had no knowledge. I've been here for 40 years and I was like, oh, that big shiny building, Ho-Chunk, got it. Had no clue what anything had to do with it. So for you to open up and invite us, show us your culture. This is the first time I've had the food and I don't know how you all stay thin. But it's just the whole experience, the family aspect of it, the give back that you do. I agree 100%. If we all had this kind of upbringing and this kind of an environment that gave back, the world would be a better place. So I want to thank you for opening up and inviting us in, and I hope that you allow us, since Matt's already said we're coming back every year, I hope you allow us to come back in the future.
Do you want us to go? My name's Linnell Blackhawk. I'm the Senior Director of Administration for Ho-Chunk Inc. I serve on our executive team at Ho-Chunk Inc. and I happen to be Willie's boss. I am a Leadership Siouxland alumni. I think I graduated in 2015. I also am very active in our community, and I want to point this out because Camilla is representing WCHS. Myself, along with Willie, we both serve on our WCHS board, and we also serve on our college board. So I wanted to point that out, but I am just really excited and thankful that Leadership Siouxland finally made it to Winnebago, and it was a joy to hear all of you and all of your good thoughts and feelings on the community, the college, Ho-Chunk Inc. It was really good to hear. So thank you guys for coming. I don't know if that's on. I'm not an alumni.
Is this on? Can they hear me? Good evening. My name is Corey Cleveland. I am the agribusiness manager of Ho-Chunk Farms. And I went through the Leadership Siouxland program, I think in 2014. And it really makes me feel good to be an employee, enrolled member of the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska, to hear your thoughts on not just Ho-Chunk, but everything else that was expressed with our cultural ways, our teachings, and like what Linnell said, I'm glad that it finally made it to Winnebago, because when I heard about it, I was like, geez, when I went through it, every meeting was in Sioux City and 30 minutes up, and sometimes, if I remember correctly, we went to Lamar's, yes. And that's an even further trek for us. And but I'm just glad that you guys are able to come here, see where some of us, where we come from, and it's a really unique way of how we live down here. But yeah, I'm super proud to work for Ho-Chunk Inc. I'm super proud to be enrolled in the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska, and I hope you all enjoyed your evening here. And drive safe.
Hi, my name is Jose Garcia. I'm the real estate investment specialist for Ho-Chunk Capital. I did Leadership Siouxland last year, 2025. But yeah, I'm glad you guys came out. Something that I guess I learned today. I really enjoyed seeing how the different strategies for creating revenue were laid out there. It's almost, you see where we started, and it's not like we stopped doing a lot of those strategies. It's more like we even start stacking them all on top of each other, doing all of them. Yeah, I do all the commercial real estate in Sioux City, manage all the leases for the Ho-Chunk Center, downtown, where Soho, Buffalo Alice, Majors Bar. Yeah, and now I do some of their investments, their passive investments. So on that chart, I would say what I do is kind of in the middle between the asset creation and the gaming, I guess. Somewhere in between there. So I think like John said or Aaron said, we invested in the beginning in a lot of hotels, private equity, passive funds when Ho-Chunk first started, and that's something that's continued. And we kind of stopped doing that for a while to invest in real estate, things like that, but now it's starting to become another focus of the company. So, thank you.
Hana chini karagiwi Charlie Earthga wa'uanangshana wakcheki winga wa'uanangshana. I greet you all. My name is Charlie Earth and my Ho-Chunk name is Whitewater Spirit. I'm also an enrolled member of the Winnebago Tribe. That was actually my dad and my brothers who rendered that song for you all. So I'm really glad that you guys were able to come across their healing and their medicine. I'm really proud of what Ho-Chunk Inc. has built, and just hearing John and Aaron reshare our story. We get to hear it and live it every day, but just it brings a deeper understanding and appreciation to what we have, and hearing all your wonderful comments and everything that you guys took away. It actually makes us feel really good, and hearing how we can build those relationships. I've been working at Ho-Chunk Capital for also a year and a half since Aaron's been over there, and it's just been really great to learn more about Siouxland and the relationship that we have and the impact that we have on each other's communities. So just welcome to Winnebago, and I'm really glad that you guys all made it, and drive home safe.
Oh, yeah. That too. Last year. Terry Lee Medina, I get the pleasure of reporting to Willie Bass, and so he's my boss there. I am the community programs manager in the community impact and engagement team. I oversee about 7 youth development programming. From our internship has been very prestigious. A lot of these guys were former interns for us, and so Aaron was an intern, Willie, myself. I think I was an intern in 2019. I graduated from Leadership Siouxland in 2022, and just want to say it was a great opportunity to network and just get to understand your guys' different areas of growth and where you guys are continuing to grow up there as well. And so our impact up there through Ho-Chunk Capital and our real estate stuff is really great. And so if you guys have any college kids, I'm going to put a plug out there. Our internship is open right now, and our deadline is March 6th. And so we usually take about 20 of them every summer. Let's see, I serve on various boards for my community. I'm the Winnebago Tribal Housing Chairwoman. I'm also on the Tribal Enrollment. I sit as the vice chair on that. Our homecoming celebration, I'll put a plug out there. Last weekend of July, if you've never been to our powwow and homecoming celebration, please come. It is a really great experience. Also serve on our election board, so tribal elections, usually work in that. I do sit on our water quality committee, and I think that's it. I sit on a lot. But also
still in school. I go to Creighton University. I'm pursuing my doctorate in interdisciplinary leadership. So it's a leadership cohort. Only 20 get accepted every time. And so doing that till 2028. Willie is also in school pursuing his doctorate as well. So it's really great opportunity to continue to grow together, and just love the presentation tonight from Aaron, from John. Like, I just really love hearing the historic context behind it. Loved your guys' feedback and input, and thank you guys. Our food, so corn soup, I'm going to shout out to Corey and Ho Chunk Farms and Aaron. They donated the corn tonight for the soup. That is a delicacy to us, and so I did want to just mention that, and thank you, Corey, for donating that corn to us. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys got full. I do want to say, when you guys go out, please grab a cake, because there's cake back here. We didn't want to interrupt you guys. And then we also have a booth out there with a lot of Aaron said, the SBA report. Take what you want. They're free. Just come and take anything. We do want to just share. And so thank you guys for the evening, and appreciate you guys coming to our hometown and come to our powwow at the end of July. Thank you.